As colder weather sets in, we're gearing up to spend more time inside, and it's only natural that we want our homes to be as comfortable and healthy as possible. A major factor in our home's health is its air quality. When it comes to air quality issues big and small, Bob Thole from MB Mold and Air Quality Testing has seen it all. Bob has many years in the air quality testing business, and he has some thoughts on the importance of air quality testing. Bob, hi. Come on in. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Before we get started, can you talk about air quality in general? Why is it so important to test?
Well, sure. I mean, the air quality in a home is obviously crucial to the safety, the health, and the comfort of the people that are living in that home.
All right, well, under these circumstances today, we've called because there's a little bit of an odor in the house.
And that's pretty common.
The homeowner's concerned about that. What are other common issues that people call you about or that you end up finding as a result of your tests?
Well, one of the main things is going to be mold and fungal issues, which can be associated with that odor. Usually prior water damage in the home or something like that that could affect the air quality in the home. But there's a number of other things, volatile organic compounds or chemical smells that people could react to, or other things such as asbestos or even pest problems.
Wow. Well, let's get started. I'll take that for you.
Great, thanks. I've got more gear out in the truck. Let me go grab it and I'll meet you in the basement.
Good.
Thanks.
So here's the basement, Bob. Is there a reason why you wanted to start down here?
Yeah, basements are traditionally a problem. One of the most common problems in a home is going to be water intrusion, which basements are prone to. So whether it's actual water intrusion from outside due to a leak or surface water, or whether it's just a humidity issue, which is causing condensation, basements are prone to all those things.
All right, well, I think the best thing for us to do is just follow you around.
Sure.
And if you could kind of brief us on what equipment you're using and what you're looking for as you go through the basement.
Let's do that. So basically, one of the main things that I want to look at is the HVAC system in the house. That's not only responsible for keeping people comfortable, but the main thing, it also climate controls the air, and that's going to manage the humidity issues. This furnace happens to have a whole home humidifier system on it. That's a wonderful thing during the winter, keeps you from getting a shock every time you touch a doorknob. However, if it's not running properly or it's not turned on and off at the right times, during the summer it can cause a lot of humidity issues, which can cause problems in the home.
Okay.
The other thing I'm looking for is just to make sure that the furnace has an adequate filter, and I'm also checking to see if there's a supplementary air purification system involved, just to know whether that's something I might be recommending moving forward. So some of the tools that I'm using today, one of which is a thermal imaging camera. Now what a thermal imaging camera does, it simply shows the difference between hot and cold surfaces. So as you can see here, it's a very sensitive one and it picks up my handprint very quickly.
It sure does. So those temperature changes, what does that tell you?
Well, the difference with the temperature changes is going to show me whether there's latent moisture on a surface. A moist surface, as it evaporates, is going to evaporatively cool. So it's going to be cooler than the surrounding surfaces. Basically allows me to very quickly check a room in a home to see if there's a moisture issue without having to actually poke every one of the walls.
Okay.
All right. The other thing that I'm looking for is I'm looking for telltale signs of things that could indicate a potential mold issue or a moisture issue that may become a mold issue. For example, I use a high intensity flashlight to look for surface dust. And as you can see, the surface dust here is nice and smooth and even. If there was a condensation problem that was starting to result in mold growth, I'd see little circles which would indicate that a mold colony is starting. I don't see any of that in this home. The other issue I like to look at is contents. The contents in the home have been in this atmosphere for an extended period of time, and they'll show signs that there's an issue. For example, books are an excellent food source for mold because of their construction, and they also really will show up if there's any indication of fungal growth. And again, I'm not seeing any of that in this home.
Good.
There is one more thing I saw in the other room that I want to check though.
All right. So Bob, what caught your eye in this room?
Okay, so what I wanted to talk about in this room was this beautiful trunk. Okay, this is obviously an old piece. It's been around for a really long time. My concern was that maybe this has existed in a non-climate controlled environment for a lot of years and could be water damaged or have some moisture issues that could result in a fungal problem. But I don't see any problems at all with this trunk. It's absolutely a beautiful piece.
Now, are you really concerned because it's wood and wood is a porous material?
Absolutely, that was one of my primary concerns. But now that we're here looking at it, there's also a lot of other construction materials that are here that are porous in nature that are being stored. Some of them look like they may have been water damaged in the past. they could be the reason for the odor we're talking about.
So it could be that they weren't here and it's not a structural issue, but they were brought in as water damage, and that can spread mold?
Yeah, absolutely. If a water damaged or affected material is brought into a home, it could then cross-contaminate the home as well.
Okay. Is there anything else in the basement you want to look at?
No, but I do want to head upstairs and let's grab some air samples upstairs just to see if there's any cross-contamination from these items in the basement that are affected the living space.
That sounds good. So Bob, this seems like an odd place to hold a test, way down here at the end of the hallway.
Okay, so the idea what we're going to do here is we're going to take an ambient air sample. Okay? Well, we need to pick where to take those samples from that are going to get the best data that we need to figure out what's going on in the home. In this case, we're at the end of a hallway where 2 of the bedrooms are. So by placing the machine here, I'm hoping to grab air from both bedrooms as well as the hallway.
Explain how this machine works.
So basically what this is just an air pump, and this is an aerosol cartridge. This cartridge has a sticky membrane inside, so as we suck air through it, that airborne particulate, mold spores, or whatever else might be in the air are going to stick to that sticky membrane, and then we ship this off to the lab, and the guys look at it under a microscope and tell us what's there.
So how long does this process take?
So this machine's going to run for 5 minutes, which is going to pull 75 liters of air, and let's get started doing that.
So Bob, that didn't take any time at all.
Yeah, usually an hour, hour and a half is about what it usually takes.
Okay, so now you've got all of your data points. What do you do with that information?
Well, the samples that we took, we're going to go ahead and ship those overnight to the lab by FedEx. They'll receive them tomorrow, and then they turn my results around to me in about 24 hours. So when I get the results back, I'll do my analysis and write up my paperwork.
Great. And what's your hunch about today?
Well, I really feel that a beautiful home, and there were very few visible issues that we found. As it comes to the odor, I think that those wet construction materials that we found down in the basement are likely the source of that odor. It'll be interesting to see how the air samples come back from the main level to see whether there was any contamination of mold spores from the basement up to the main level.
So what happens if you do find a bigger issue than that?
Okay, well, it all depends on what we find, but generally it can be anywhere from just a little bit of cleaning to a significant amount of material removal and then replacement. So the cost for the remediation could really vary pretty greatly from just a few $100s to several thousand, depending on the problem.
And how much does it cost to have you come in for this hour and a half and do this test today?
Sure, the sampling, as a general rule of thumb, it's around $600. Obviously, a more complicated home with a more complicated floor plan or a larger home that requires more samples would be more significant.
This is great information. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
You know, high quality air can make for a high quality life. It might be time to consider whether or not air quality testing is right for your PowerHouse.